Hi guys, welcome back to 100% Mag. So I hope you're all staying safe and well out there. So Newcastle United, of course, play tonight. It's 12:30 in the morning, of course, as of course we play at the Red Bull Arena in New Jersey against Brighton tonight in the third game of the Premier League Summer Series, and that of course will be a 7:30 kickoff over in the States, which means that here in the UK it will be a 12:30 kickoff at night. Of course, going into tomorrow. This is going to be a very interesting game, of course. It's another big moment for us to have a very good test against another Premier League outfit and a Premier League team, of course, who did some fantastic stuff last season in Brighton. Of course, Roberto De Zerbi is doing some really amazing stuff there at Brighton, and of course, they got themselves into Europe as well for the first time in their history of their club as well. So that'll be an interesting one for Brighton fans, of course, that are watching. I'm sure they'll be really interested to see what happens, of course, next this season coming, of course, with that for European football. But talking about this game against Brighton, of course, at the Red Bull Arena, this is the home of course, former New York Metro Stars, of course, which are now New York Red Bull. That is, of course, why it is called the Red Bull Arena, because they got bought out, of course, by Red Bull quite some time ago. And this is probably the lowest capacity stadium that we've played in so far, of course. 71,000 was the Lincoln Financial Field, home of Philadelphia Eagles, of course, where we took on Aston Villa. Then, of course, the Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium, of course, where we took on Chelsea. That was it, about 40 odd thousand. In this stadium, of course, in New Jersey, the Red Bull Arena is 25,000. So it is the lowest of the stadiums in capacity wise. So, it's going to be an interesting one to see how the atmosphere feels inside that one, and what, we'll hear from the atmosphere coming through, of course, for us watching at home, who aren't over in the States. But moving away from that, of course, I'm sure, that'll be a really interesting game, and I can't wait to see what happens in it. I'm going to go with the score prediction of Newcastle to come away 2-0 winners against Brighton. I'll see you for that one. Moving on to talk about the recent news regarding transfers, and Jamal Lewis has, of course, made a loan move to Watford. That, of course, was confirmed yesterday by Watford themselves. Of course, we're seeing this coming, of course, with news from the Athletic covering it. We're seeing Fabrizio Romano covering it. We're seeing quite a few different media outlets and journalists covering this news that Jamal Lewis would be going on a season-long loan to Watford. Now, according to Keith Downey on this news, it is a season-long loan, and of course there is an ability in there for Watford to make this a permanent deal. Once that loan, of course, has ended, then they can make it a permanent deal. Probably be able to make it a permanent deal during the loan if they want to. And I've got to say, it is a little bit disappointing to see Jamal Lewis go, because the lad didn't really get a chance, to show what he had at Newcastle United. He came in at a time, when things just weren't really working in Newcastle. He came in at a time when, there was a lot going on behind the scenes in Newcastle. So, a lot of players were struggling to find their footing in the team with what was going on, in the background at the club. And then, of course, having somebody in that, doesn't really know how to relate with players neither didn't help matters. Then, of course, Jamal Lewis found himself on the end of a boot from Basoma when we took on Brighton, of course, in the league. It ended up seeing him, out for a while as he healed up because of that. And I've still say to this day that was an absolutely disgusting piece of play by Basoma, and I don't know how, he got away with doing something like that. He should have definitely been given a ban for quite a while, you know, for something like that, because that was absolutely disgusting. And it wasn't the first time he did it neither. There was another moment where he did it in the Premier League against Ware yet again, you know, so it wasn't the only time that he did it. So I was pretty disappointed that, you know, he did get away with that and he didn't get some sort of massive ban, you know, for that sort of play against our players, or any player for that matter, because it is dangerous play. But I think that cost Jamal Lewis a little bit of momentum, you know, and cost him a chance to get his footing in the squad. But, you know, best of luck to the lads. Hopefully, you know, if it does turn out that this is a permanent move, you know, once the loan ends, then hopefully, you know, this will be the right move for the lad. Hopefully it'll see him get himself back on the right path with his career, because he's still a young lad. There's still plenty of time left there, you know, for him to be able to have a pretty decent career and have a chance, you know, to go out there and possibly win some sort of silverware. You know, but we'll wait, we'll see what happens in time on it. But as of now, he is, of course, a Watford player on loan until the end of the season. Moving away from that, of course, Eddie Howe has come out and he has said that he's looking to sign a left back and a centre back before the transfer window closes, of course. And this is coming from Mark Douglas on this one, of course. Now, we've been heavily linked with moves to Tino Livramento. We've been actually putting in offers for to bring Tino Livramento to Newcastle as well. We've been looking at other players like Disasi to come to Newcastle. So we are looking in that defensive market. And I think that is an area that we do need to improve on, especially considering that we just seen Fabian Shaw go down in the game against Chelsea. Now, it turns out that that isn't as bad as it looked, but, you know, that is a little bit of a worrying factor when we're seeing players going down in the defensive department. So we do need to be bringing in quality players that could possibly go in there and play ahead of the likes of Shaw, or a player that is, you know, capable enough to be a backup to Shaw and can, you know, rotate in and out of the squad, so that, you know, Shaw doesn't have to play as many games. Same for Botman as well, so that they don't have to play, you know, as many games this season coming. But looking at it, you know, we are looking at the targets, and that is something that Eddie Howe has said. You know, he wants a left back in and he wants a centre back in before the transfer window is closed. So that's good to see. Of course, I still think that there is areas in the squad that we could improve moving forward. The defence is definitely one that we do need to improve on. If we could get maybe a younger defender in there, somebody with some legs that is able, you know, to keep up with the players. I mean, if you look at the game against Chelsea, we were getting caught out a little bit at the back with the pace of the likes of Jackson and Mudryk. You know, we were getting caught out with that pace at the back. So we definitely do need to have somebody that is a younger player with a bit more speed. Maybe we could bring in a Tomori from AC Milan. That would be a good option. I think, you know, he's young, he's got a bit of pace to him as well. That is something I think that we should be looking at, you know, a younger defender with some pace in there as well, because we are lacking a little bit at the back with pace. When you look at the defensive back four, you know, from last season, we've got Trippier in there, we've got Shaw in there, we've got Botman, and we've got Dan Burn. So that's four players. You know, yes, Trippier's got a bit of pace on him. Dan Burn does have a bit of pace now and again. Botman is okay with pace, but Shaw's getting on the upper end of his career now. He did have pace, and he does sort of have pace still, but he is getting towards the latter end of his career now. So we do need to be focusing on bringing in, you know, somebody with a bit more pace in their legs and is a little bit on the younger side compared to, of course, what we've got at the moment. And that's not being negative towards any of the lads in the defence at the moment, because they have been absolutely solid in the defence. But, You could say in the game against Chelsea, I know it's only a pre-season game, but you could say in the game against Chelsea, you know, they were lacking that pace to be able to keep up with the quicker players like Jackson, like Mudryk, you know, and that could cost you at times, especially going into the Champions League. You know, there's going to be players in there that are a lot faster than some of the players that have played so far in this pre-season tournament out in the States. You know, so we definitely need to be looking at that, and it's nice to see, you know, Eddie Howe has said he's looking to sign a left back and a centre back. But, you know, at the end of the day, just trust the process of the owners, trust the process of Eddie Howe. You know, they know what they're doing. I'm just putting my thoughts out there, you know, on what I think we should bring in. You know, definitely somebody with a bit more pace in their legs. But moving forward, of course, to talk about some of the news, which of course Newcastle released ticketing information for next season. Of course, talking about season ticket holders should receive an email. Of course, you should have already received that email with details on how to download your new season ticket to your device. Of course, there will be images up on screen for this, and you can follow the images, of course, what is up on screen. They're just basically telling you how to forward your match day ticket to a friend or a family if you want to do that. Also, they're giving you the benefits as well, saying what the benefits are with the season ticket for this season moving forward. We will talk a little bit about, of course, the news that Newcastle released recently, of course, as well. In another video, we'll talk about this one because it is a bit of a lengthy one. So we will talk about, of course, the recent news about the fan zone and talk about the stadium expansion as well moving forward. But till next time, remember, hit like, share, subscribe to 100% Mags. Until next time, I'll see you all later, and however, lads.